I realized that we have been filming our grocery hauls every single time that we go grocery shopping, but I haven't done a produce washing grocery haul in a while. So I wanted to walk through all of the different things that I'm going to do in washing, and then we will lay them out to dry. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy, where I have actually had a TED Talk teaching on how to safely wash and store your produce so it stays fresh for weeks. So this is our June grocery haul. You can tell by seasonal produce items and things that change. And then some items we get all year long, but I love being able to plan what we're having around the produce that's in season. If you're just meeting me, you might have seen my strawberries in a jar, which started a trend almost 4 years ago after it went viral. This is what ended up landing me a TED Talk and me becoming a best-selling author with media coverage all over the world. But when you are washing your produce items with distilled white vinegar that is 5%, it's going to kill off the mold spores, 𝐂𝐻𝐿, Listeria, and any other harmful pathogens that are on your produce items. And as you're doing them the Cross Legacy way that I'm going to teach you with these instructions, it will also help your produce last for weeks. So most of the items that are here are either in the don't wash category or they're in the vinegar wash category. And that vinegar wash is 1/4 cup of distilled white vinegar to 10 cups of water, and you soak that for 2 minutes. It's really important that you set a timer. If you have things soaking in the water too long, you can start the fermentation process and they can get waterlogged and never dry out. So I always set a timer. I never go swap the laundry or get distracted while I have things in the water, especially delicate things like berries. And as you're pulling them out of the water, some of the items you will want to rinse off. You don't have to rinse off smooth skinned items if you don't want to. It's just whatever you prefer. But once you see how dirty the water is for things like celery and carrots and berries and lettuce, you will definitely want to rinse those off. When you're laying these out to dry, I put a large beach towel on my countertop. I do use an organic Turkish beach towel for this, which dries really quickly, and I'm not sure if that actually helps with the drying process of the produce items. So this stays dry, which is really nice. Something else that helps with the drying time is to get a salad spinner. If you don't have a bowl and a colander, this can be a 3-in-1, and you can use this to wash, rinse, and spin dry your items. But this will help cut down drying times on your greens by half. Some people do put their berries into a salad spinner. I find that they bruise really easily and then they will deteriorate quickly, so I rather just lay them out on the towel to dry. It depends on your climate and the season, but normally to lay all the items out, it takes around 2 to 3 hours for the drying time before you want to store them away in the refrigerator. Some other things that I normally use is a large stock pot or a large bowl. So every time I'm putting the vinegar in the wash, it is 1/4 cup to 10 cups of water. In the stock pot, it's really nice because it actually tells me the number of cups as I'm going up the stock pot. So I don't have to measure it. I can just see where that water line goes. And normally if I'm washing large watermelon or like huge bushels of apples or something, I have a large tote that I will put the vinegar water in and clean them that way. We're actually preparing to move, so I've packed up a lot of those extra kind of things that I don't use as often. So I'm going to fit this into this pot for today, and I might have to turn it upside down if it doesn't fit all the way. So some items I do normally wash with a salt water wash, and those are normally items that are in the cabbage family, like cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. I will wash with salt water. I have a complete list in the back of my book of exactly what items get washed, don't get washed with the vinegar water, and what get washed with the salt water. In the back of this book has a master chart that makes this super easy. And there's over 75 produce items in here, A to Z. So you can just flip to the right page that you want to be able to get the tips that you need, plus over 40 recipes and other items. So the first thing we're going to do today is deal with the corn on the cob, which I'm just going to cut off the silks, and those are going to end up in my crisper drawer with the other vegetables after they're dry. Lettuce is one that I normally wash when I bring it home, except when it has this live root on it. So this will actually be able to sit in a bowl of water and stay alive until we get ready to use it, which I'm going to make these into lettuce wraps. And so to keep it really fresh and whole like this will be perfect for that. And it will just sit in my refrigerator like this. And when I go to use it, then I will end up washing it. So besides for the Butter Crunch lettuce, I always wash my lettuce and my spinach when I bring it home. If you don't know, lettuce is the most recalled item, any of those greens are, for listeria. So if you're washing them when you're bringing them home, you're killing off that listeria and you're storing it away so it's ready to eat when you want to eat it and it is safe for your family. So this is just kind of a special thing that I don't wash when I first bring it home. So to cut down on the amount of vinegar and water I'm using, I will wash things with smooth skins first and all together. So like lemons and peppers and the avocados, cucumbers, all of those kind of things can go into one pot of water and you don't have to worry about them co-mingling in the pot. Most of those items do float up to the top though, so you have to be diligent to make sure that you're bobbing them back down. Sometimes I'll actually put a bowl at the top to weigh them down a little bit. It just depends on what I'm doing. But I will fill up the pot with water and the vinegar and then put all the smooth-sided items in together. Berries are something that I always wash separately because I want to make sure that I'm also storing them separately. So I never co-mingle like blackberries and raspberries together, especially blueberries with anything. If you're washing blackberries and raspberries, those are going to last 2 to 3 weeks this way. Strawberries are going to last 3 weeks. Grapes are going to last 4 to 6 weeks. And blueberries are going to last 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't want to add blueberries with raspberries and they have 2 different shelf lives. We will end up showing a B-roll of me doing all of these things, but when we are washing the celery, I always cut the crown off and I wash them. Sometimes I'll cut it in half so it fits into my bowl easier, and sometimes I leave it whole. It just depends on what my mood is. But when I go to rinse those off, I always run my thumb down the inside of that crevice because there's so much dirt that seems like it gets lifted up and left behind there. So celery is something that I always rinse. And I didn't get a huge 6-pound bag of carrots like I normally do. We actually have some left over from the last grocery shopping cycle and we're moving. So I want to make sure that all of the produce items that I bought, we are going to eat up in the next couple weeks. I did get some asparagus. I love that it's in season right now. I'm going to wash that carefully and then trim off the ends. And then that will go into some filtered water in my refrigerator. And asparagus will actually stay fresh for a month when you store it like this. I know I'm going to get some comments of, this doesn't seem like a lot of produce if this is going to last a few weeks. I want to remind people that everybody's family is different and our household only has the 2 of us here. So this is how much we're going to eat, but my main goal is that you're not throwing produce away. So I know that all of these items will stay fresh for 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes I'm actually purposely trying not to eat them the first 2 weeks so I can then show you what it looks like 3 to 4 weeks after I went to the grocery store. If you're interested in seeing the meals that I'm making with these produce items, every 2 weeks in 2025, we put out a new video of the previous 2 weeks meals and what we've had. And I think every single one of these videos, or almost all of them, we have a video for that we have done over the last couple of years. If you're new to this channel, there's over 600 videos here on the channel, and it breaks out each produce item with all of the tips. So it might seem like this is a pain to wash all of your produce items. I just want to remind you, it only takes about a half an hour for me to wash our produce once a month. And then it does lay out and dry for about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how warm it is in here. But then I go and take a break, and it only takes a few minutes to put all of this food away in my refrigerator so it stays fresh for weeks. And the average family is throwing away over 40 to 60% of the food that they're they're buying, I'm able to keep our grocery shopping trips to $135 per person. Again, we're a family of 2, so our monthly grocery budget is $270 for our household. And normally we're mostly organic in everything that we buy. Sometimes those things change with the seasons and what's available. And one of the most common questions I get asked is adding baking soda to the squash. So those make really cool videos and they're bubbly and effective for videos. But when you're adding baking soda and vinegar together, they're actually neutralizing each other and they're not giving you the cleaning benefit that you want. So make sure that you're just using the vinegar wash, which will kill off the mold spores, 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐼, Listeria. And with the vinegar, you want to make sure it's 5%, not the 7% that you find in the laundry and cleaning aisle. So 5% is what is safe for food. I'm going to wash this produce and we will probably end up getting some extra little clips and B-roll as we go, but this is the final picture of it sitting here on the counter before I start washing. Okay, some of this might end up playing with music in the background, but I had some talking points that I wanted to make sure I talked about. So this butter crunch lettuce is actually really handy if you're running out of space in the refrigerator. Being able to store it in the water, you can keep it fresh on the counter if you need to for like overnight or another day. If you want to keep this still alive and fresh and you don't have enough room in your refrigerator. So sometimes that is really handy. Again, if your house is like 100 degrees, like produce items aren't going to stay fresh as long as if it's being air conditioned in the summertime. But sometimes if you need a little bit extra space, being able to keep this alive and whole is really handy. But I will put this in the refrigerator if I have enough room. And then as these things are processing, I have the lemons and avocados and squash and zucchini already done. I have peppers in there. And then I'm going to cut off the greens of the radishes and get those ready to go into the water next. So radishes and celery are going to be next. And that is the last of this water that I will use before switching it out. As I was washing this lettuce, I always wash it off, especially organic lettuce. You want to be checking all those little crevices and make sure there's no bugs hidden in there, which the vinegar wash will kill, but you don't want them in your lettuce. And then I normally sit them up in the colander for a few minutes while I go on to another task. This helps it drain off a little bit, and then I'll use the salad spinner, so it's just an extra little tip. But when our kitchen was much smaller before this remodel, I would just dry them this way too, with them sitting up in the colander. Sometimes I would move them around a little bit in the colander, but that way, if you don't have a lot of counter space, you can still wash your lettuce doing it this way. All right, this is all the produce washed. That took us about a half an hour and we kept stopping to get B-roll and take more pictures. So it didn't take very long to actually do it. And then the lettuce, which I just wanted to clarify, this I did not wash and I put it in the water. Since there's dirt in that root, I'm going to let it sit like this overnight and then I will put it in a clean bowl with new filtered water in there. So whenever you're adding water to it, you want to make sure that it's filtered water and not your tap water that has chlorine in it. That will actually kill the plants. So when you're going to put the asparagus away or putting the water in the lettuce like this, you want to make sure that it's whatever water you would want to drink. And if you want more tips breaking all of these items out with more instructions, we have videos for every single one of them, and just ask questions in the comments. I try to take breaks all throughout the day and answer questions and comments that come across on YouTube and on Instagram. So it's really important to me that I do take the time to answer your questions and lead you the right way to wash your produce and be able to have it last longer.